Earlier on today, Dafuk Boom finally released part 1 of episode 72 of SKIBIDI Toilet, and boy were we treated to some incredible action. But the most important was the fact that I was correct about a certain scenario that happened before our very eyes, and one of our favorite members of the Alliance finally made a return also. Before we get into today's video, make sure you subscribe to me so you don't miss any future analysis and theory videos from me. Also, give my video a like as it will help me. Let us begin. The scene begins where we are seeing the POV of Plunger Cameraman from episode 70 part 3, just as he is about to die, and Titan Cameraman is above him, watching down at the scene, as his camera goes offline. The scene then transitions to the POV of Mech Scientist Cameraman, who we haven't seen since episode 54, so it's been a while, like almost 20 episodes, 18 episodes to be exact, since we've last seen him. And quite rightly so, his mech suit has got a lot of upgrades, and we see it play out later on. But before that, POV Mech Scientist Cameraman looks down at the screen on his mech suit to the camera offline message and hits his fist off the side, since he now knows he has just lost his buddy during the war. We know they used to be very close friends, as we've seen in earlier episodes like episode 43 and episode 48. They used to be battle partners. So of course our POV is going to be enraged. The POV Scientist Cameraman looks up to see the chaos around him, with Alliance members running and hiding, when he initially sees the SWAT mutant toilet coming in from the side, who sends some rockets hurtling towards the POV, but those rockets end up knocking a car out of the way some other Alliance members were hiding behind, until POV Scientist Cameraman brings his laser guns out and blasts the SKIBIDI toilet out of the sky. His guns are a slightly smaller version of the same kind of gun that the large laser cameraman had back in episode 70. He turns to his right and sees a mutant SKIBIDI toilet about to attack, but punches it away from him and blasts it before blasting the SKIBIDI toilet across from him. But then as he turns to his left, another mutant SKIBIDI toilet begins to attack him with a saw, hitting his screen and breaking it. But POV Scientist Cameraman enters a command and brings one of his arms around that summons a knife, and he stabs the mutant SKIBIDI toilet in the head and throws him. But the mutant SKIBIDI toilet is not dead, making him blast the mutant, which kills him there and then. POV Mech Scientist Cameraman once again turns and sees a mutant SKIBIDI toilet try and jump to attack, but he's too fast for him and blasts him out of the way, while the other SKIBIDIs are watching on and waiting to attack. Mech Scientist Cameraman turns once again and sees the scene in front of him, which is two cameramen who are hiding behind the car, going up against the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant with the armor on him, which was the leak we were shown by Dafuk Boom very recently in his merch store specifically, and in his Discord server. Suddenly, the mutant SKIBIDI toilet strikes both the cameramen with some sort of sickle, killing him in the process. Also, if you're wondering where this sickle is from and why it looks familiar, it's from Puss in Boots 2, from the death whistle. I perhaps may need to check my arsenal in case this SWAT SKIBIDI mutant stole one of them, since I carry sickles too, but that's besides the point. The SWAT SKIBIDI mutant begins to walk towards Mech Scientist Cameraman, stepping on a cameraman along the way and throwing the rest of his rockets at him. And before Mech Scientist Cameraman can laser him, the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant has put back his rocket launchers and put his face shield and his main shield up, and then he gets lasered, but to no avail. He strikes the mech suit of our POV, breaking one of the lasers off in the process. Then the POV Mech Scientist Cameraman puts his mech arm up to defend himself because the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant was prepared to strike him again, to which he did, breaking off that mech arm and his control panel with the tablet screen in the process. Just for a moment there, I genuinely thought Dafuk Boom was about to pull a fast one and kill him off, so I'm thankful he never did. He's like the main scientist cameraman. I'm assuming he's the head scientist cameraman too, since he's been with the Alliance ever since episode 23 and has survived since then. Before the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant can attack the mech scientist cameraman again with the sickle, he is hit by a blast from elsewhere, making him look and stare down at the culprit in question. The POV Mech Scientist Cameraman looks to his right again, as he suddenly sees a heavily upgraded Strider camera that we haven't seen in action since episode 32, when Titan Speakerman was infected. They first showed up all the way in episode 13, but back then they didn't really do much, but they were some of the Alliance's strongest technology back then, alongside Titan Cameraman himself, who showed up in episode 18. Also, we did however see a similar Strider camera that was dismantled in the SKIBIDI base, in the secret room, from episode 70 part 2. I'm guessing that was foreshadowing their return. The upgraded Strider camera lands and begins to send huge blasts barreling towards the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant, who tries to fly out of the way but gets shot down in the process. As the upgraded Strider camera is standing there, a blast is sent towards it, and mech scientist cameraman turns to where the blasts came from to see smoke, but suddenly we see Bill from Left 4 Dead appears, except here, he is a SKIBIDI toilet. The upgraded Strider camera begins to send blasts towards Bill, but it doesn't affect him all that much, as he then smiles and sends rockets hurtling towards Strider camera, hitting it in the process. But it hasn't died, because from the thick smoke, it has now powered up and sends a huge energy blast to the Bill SKIBIDI toilet. During this scene, we hear that funny snore sound from TikTok as the Bill toilet is hit and destroyed on the spot. POV Mech scientist cameraman turns to the upgraded Strider camera and puts his thumbs up to him, one of which is his other mech arm, while the Strider camera nods. They both begin to move around the battlefield as they begin to take the other SKIBIDI toilets out one by one in the process, such as the one helicopter SKIBIDI toilet that gets shot down by the upgraded Strider camera. It turns out that Elite Cameraman was right about all helicopters being useless indeed. If you look exactly at the 1 minute 34 mark, you will see the secret agent standing nearby watching the battle. Just before POV Mech scientist cameraman gets to the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant, he throws a toilet paper grenade at another nearby SKIBIDI toilet, who is blown up in the process. The POV Mech scientist cameraman looks down at the scythe on the floor and picks it up, and begins to look at the injured SWAT SKIBIDI mutant, who gives him the finger, which is even funnier because it's usually the cameramen who have been doing that. Perhaps the SKIBIDIs have been learning. But anyway, they're even copying the Alliance's moves now. How unoriginal. Before POV Mech scientist cameraman can attack him, they both hear a sound from nearby, which makes the SWAT SKIBIDI mutant start to grin menacingly like the robot scientist toilet did in episode 67 part 1. We look to our left, and we see pylons coming down as Jimmy the toilet arrives on scene and spots the POV. The POV Mech scientist cameraman flies up a bit, but he gets blasted by one of G-Man's lasers, and he falls over, with his mech suit protecting the laser impact and the fall impact. The POV Mech scientist cameraman begins to watch as upgraded G-Man is being hit by blasts from the nearby upgraded Strider camera, but it's having very little effect on him, and he gives the upgraded Strider camera the side-eye like he's just a bug. The Strider toilet sends another powerful energy blast out, but that seems to scare G-Man, because he suddenly shows that he now has a shield to protect him, just like Titan Cameraman had in episode 64 and 65. Once again, they're copycats. As it disappears, he begins to power up all his 3 lasers on the left to attack the upgraded Strider camera back, breaking it into pieces, and it falls to the floor. Suddenly, sparks can be seen from the mech suit of POV Mech scientist cameraman, who realizes he has to get out of the suit. As he steps out and gets to the side, the mech suit blows up due to the hit G-Man sent towards him previously. Also, we realize that our POV does indeed have legs. Most people thought he was connected to the mech suit because he had no legs, but it turns out that he does indeed have legs, so the Alliance did repair our scientist himself as he lost his legs in episode 48. Also, this goes to show how durable the mech suit is, that it held off a direct blast from G-Man. If our POV wasn't in the mech suit, we may have had to say goodbye to our main scientist cameraman in this episode, but now, he's just a scientist cameraman. The scene changes once again, and the POV scientist cameraman looks up to see G-Man and some of the SKIBIDIs scouting the area, including the Michael Jackson toilet who we hear. We also still see the DJ toilet floating by, which shows that he is the only toilet that can probably still float, just as Elite Cameraman said before. Not only that, but we also see the Kleiner SKIBIDI toilet from episode 68 part 2 and 2 containers with 2 SKIBIDI toilets carrying them. Last episode, in episode 71, we saw that there was only 1 container, but now 2. What is going on here exactly? This makes me feel like the scientist toilet's final experiment was much bigger than we think, since it is brought with more than 1 container. G-Man sees one of the engineer SKIBIDI toilets as he begins to talk to G-Man, with the G-Man talking back. Suddenly, just as the engineer toilet is about to leave, the detainer ASTRO toilet appears from nowhere and grabs the engineer toilet, crushing him in the process. We were all shocked during episode 70 part 1 when the detainer Astro Toilet showed up speaking in English, and once again during this episode, he spoke in English again, which I must say is incredibly interesting, because why would they have to speak English to G-Man if G-Man speaks the SKIBIDI language? We know that the Astro Toilets can speak SKIBIDI language too, so why were they conversing with G-Man in English, and where did they learn from? Maybe on their home planet they also speak English, but who knows? Or they really do know all languages possible. Anyway, the detainer Astro Toilet throws the engineer toilet back to G-Man, which does nothing to him, and tells him, "You know the penalty for treason, Commander." And as the detainer Astro Toilet is powering up, he tells G-Man no one escapes justice. Interestingly, the detainer Astro Toilet's eyes light up red when he powers up, so I wonder if he has laser eyes just like the UFO Astro Toilet, or if the laser eyes are only exclusive to the UFO Astro Toilet himself. We look back to G-Man, who is now powering up himself, charging up all of his lasers and double charging his two main ones at the front, but the scene ends on a cliffhanger. What an episode that was, friends. As mentioned in my intro, I was correct about G-Man coming face to face with the Astro Toilets, but maybe in this next part, we could see the battle between G-Man and the Titans versus the Astro Toilets, where one of the Astro Toilets could possibly get injured during the battle. Or since Defuk said that we won't be seeing any Titans in episode 72, maybe it will just be the Battle of the Toilets, and maybe the UFO Astro Toilet might help the detainer Astro Toilet in this battle, but we will see. I just don't think that G-Man will lose so easily, especially since Defuk mentioned G-Man having abilities that we don't know yet. But what is the treason that G-Man has committed that the detainer Astro Toilet mentioned in the episode? Could it be about the scientist, because he was the only higher-up who got murdered, and G-Man wasn't there for him? Or maybe about how the SKIBIDI Toilets could have stolen the technology of the Astro Toilets, and then consider this treason? I guess we will learn within time. But do you think, friends? Do you have any theories? Write them down in the comments so I can read your wonderful ideas. They are always welcome. Also, I have a Discord. You are welcome to join, where you will see leaks when I get them and talk to the amazing community I am building. Thank you for watching my video. I was Obsidian. And until next time, my friends.